I'm Jason with the All Things Open team. I'm here with Jono. We're going to talk about measuring developer engagement and using AI to create better onboarding experiences and probably a bunch more. Welcome to the podcast. Please introduce yourself.
Yep, my name is Jono. I'm the CEO of a company called StateShift, where we help people build developer engagement around their businesses and products. And I love all things open, and I love the work that you do. So I'm thrilled to be here.
Perfect. Well, welcome to the studio. What's exciting about developer engagement, and why is it important to you?
I think what's interesting to me is so many of the companies that are here have to get developers interested in engaging what they're doing. And I think there's a bit of a mysteriousness to that, right? People put out content and they do documentation and things like that. But I think what's really needed is a much more systematic approach to this. So, for example, when we work with companies, one of the first things I look at is, like, when somebody starts using your developer tool, how quickly does it take them before they can do something useful with it, right? And that to me is like almost like the end point, and then we have to dial it all the way back to how do you just meet these people in the first place? And I just find that whole puzzle around it kind of interesting. It's like a subset of community building, which I've always been interested in, but it's very tangible and it's much more measurable in many ways as well. So it's been
that's really cool.
Jam.
Where do most organizations fail when it comes to measuring developer engagement?
I think it's a largely misunderstood area, because I think engagement comes in multiple different flavors, right? There is are people actually using your product, and are they actively using your product? But then the other element to this is, are you actually getting to developers out there in the industry? So for example, if somebody comes to ATO and they've got a developer tool, developer product, if people don't use that product, how do they measure the value and the impact of this conference? And I think that can manifest again, like it can be from brand recognition and association. It can be, the lead gen towards someone being a developer qualified lead. So I think most companies, either not through fault of their own, like I'm just not entirely sure where to get started. But then I think there are companies where they know what to do, but they're not systematic enough. And at the end of the day, if you don't measure it, then you're not going to improve it.
Yep, that's right. How are you using AI to create a better developer onboarding experience?
This has been huge. So one of the things that we do, and I'd recommend this to everybody, is take your developer onboarding experience and break it down into gates, right? So gate one is usually hit the website, sign up in some capacity, capture information. Gate number two is then going to be, how do we know that they even did something with it, right? So this is going to be more with a SaaS product. It's a little different for open source. But a company that we work with, for example, we measured this through API calls, right? So when they signed up, what percentage of people who hit the website signed up? And then what percentage of people signed up sent one API call? That's it. And then what percentage of people then sent 10 API calls, which is they kind of got through their quick start guide. And then what percentage of people got to 100 API calls, which means they're playing around with it and probably seeing if this is going to work in production. And then what percentage of people sent over 500 API calls? So to me, it's all about breaking that down. Historically, we'd have to look at that in like Postdoc and whatever else. And you had to be very intentional in how you looked at that data. You had to know you had to know how to ask the right question. With AI, we can just load all that information in there. And I think what we do is we find all the nuances within that. We did this recently with somebody, for example, and we found that the messaging in their content on social media was just slightly off. And AI told us that. We would never have detected that. Otherwise.
Wow, that's really cool. You're doing some really interesting stuff, man. Yeah. I like it.
And it's what I love about this is it's opened up to more people, right? So historically, to get that kind of insight, you'd have to pay somebody a lot of money as a coach or a consultant or whatever. But now with AI, people can go in and it's much more accessible to people.
Love it. What's a new tool that you've been using lately to boost your own productivity?
One is called Peak. P-E-E. Is that too many E's? P-E-E-C. It's one of these tools that basically you feed it a bunch of prompts and it runs those prompts once a day, and then it tracks how much your brand name appears and how much your blog or whatever appears. So visibility and citations. There's a bunch of these tools in the market. There's Otterly we started out with. It is phenomenal for getting a sense of whether your content's getting indexed into the LLMs.
That's really neat.
And Peak is out of London. Otterly was like one dude who we got to know, but Peak kind of like started moving in the right direction when it came to features wise. And when we started playing around with this like a month ago, we were like right down in the doldrums, like no recognition whatsoever. It was a disaster. And then that's given us a sense of like where to focus on the content. And we've seen like a huge Like the graph has been going up and to the right. And yeah, it's been huge. But that's more like around the company. I'm not sure if I'd say that's productivity for me. For me, Claude. Like I just use Claude for everything.
Oh, cool. Do you have a tip, a best practice, or any career advice for the All Things Open community?
The main thing, it's actually written on the back of my t-shirt, is just the value of iteration. Like it's such honestly a bit of a cliche, but like go out there with the intention of failing, because failure delivers good information. And I think it's often, even though like many of us have been doing this for a long period of time, people wrestle with that. So like actually when I was kicking off the Community Leadership Summit today, I used an analogy to stand-up comedians. So like a stand-up comedian, when you see them on Netflix, it's not like they just walk on stage and that's what appears, right? They've spent night after night going to comedy clubs in New York or Austin or wherever it might be, doing sets, bombing on stage, figuring out what works, what doesn't work, changing the sentence structure, and then iterate. And that's where you get that kind of quality. I think we need to do the same thing in our world. But the first step with that is being comfortable with bombing, with being comfortable with failure.
Great advice. All right, we're going to end with something fun. Are you ready? Are you ready for the Hotfix minute?
Oh, it depends how fun it is.
All right. Well, just
I trust you, Jason.
say what comes to mind. All right. I think I know some of your answers, but this is going to be fun.
All right.
Linux, Mac, or Windows?
Today, Mac.
Books, movies, or podcasts?
Books.
Pizza, salad, or tacos?
Pizza.
Rock, country, or hip hop?
Rock.
Star Wars, Star Trek, or stargazing?
Don't care about any of them. Probably stargazing.
Android or iPhone?
iPhone.
ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini?
Claude.
The future of AI, helper robots or robot takeover?
Helper robots.
All right, Jono, you survived. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thanks, man.
Really appreciate it.